Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Because I'm trying to cheer up the audience here at the studio. With a few weeks until Wonder Woman comes out, everybody here is really on nerves. Some of them are really also depressed. It's gonna suck. Indeed. It's not gonna be good. It's no way they'll make it decent. As you can see, even Pinky's depressed by this. Come on, guys. We can't lose hope now. We gotta believe that at one point DC will get its shit together. How can you be so sure? Indeed. There's just no way. Yeah. Dash, a little help here. Alright. Yeah, boss. Every pony, look at yourselves. Moping around, thinking you're all depressed and stuff. Diana wouldn't want that. Superman wouldn't want that. We know that the movie might suck. It might not. It might be good. Who knows? But it don't matter because we still got the great comics. We can always go back and say, F the movie. We'll just make our own and just read the comics from there. Necessary? Let's do a good old audiobook read by a fanfic. Not by this guy, but we can do that. Why? Because we're comic book fans and we don't have to worry about it. And besides, Marvel got his act together after a few movie releases, and look where we are now. DC got his TV show act together, and so now does got his comic book act together. I say, we shouldn't have to worry about the small stuff, and look forward to having a Wonder Woman movie on the screen. Now, I say y'all, horse with me and cheering on Wendy. Well, Dash, that was really nice. Thanks, I was forced into watching Malcolm X last night. Why? Twilight got really interested into that movie. Yes, Twilight seems to be the cause of a lot of my new movie watching experiences. Still, speaking of DC, I was ready to see if I could finally get a Nightwing story on this channel. Yay! I thought you might. So, without any further ado, here's My Father's Words by DC Looter. Enjoy. My Father's Words by DC Looter. First chapter, only chapter. What kind of a name is Looter anyway? It was one of the most effective methods of relaying information from one generation to another. It came out before the computer, the telephone, the printing press, and even the written word. Speech. Words, inflections, arguments, grumbles, laughter. As a part of the Flying Graysons, I have relied on physical as well as verbal expressions to perform a surprise to trapeze acts my father designed. In practice, he would call it when to bend or flip or to straighten out. I followed his every word without question. At every sexual session, I would hear the same thing from him as he picked me up and threw me up onto his broad shoulders. Way to go, Dick. Soon I'll be getting orders from you. The relationship between my dad and I had been indescribable. We were both kids at heart and kept the entire circus on his toes, especially my mother. No matter where we were or how things were going, we made sure everyone managed to have a good laugh. We were the Grayson men. Men. I had been barely 5 when I first took the spotlight 40 feet above the ground, slinking with ease as spectators below cheered in awe. Shortly after, I was part of the regular show. Come see the Flying Graysons! I was only 10 when I saw the rope snap before watching my parents fall to their death. See? It's not Dick Grayson, age 12. That was when I became a man, for it was impossible to remain a child after that. Bob Haley and the others were still my family, but they couldn't help me. They didn't understand what I was going through. I hadn't been able to truly understand. No one could. No one except that big man who knelt before me in the sawdust-floored ring and let me pound my fury into his chest with my little fists. man who held me as I collapsed and exhausted to realize the season of it all. The man with the black hair and icy eyes. Had I known going down the drive that led to Wayne Manor for the first time that my life would have been like this, perhaps I would have made them drive faster. Agreed, many bad things have happened since the day I took up residence at the mansion. Many things that I never would forget and could only pray to prevent it. Joker shooting me, Jason dying, Barbara, Tim facing the clench, Bruce's loss to Bane. That perhaps seemed to be the one most troubling memories I had, knowing Bruce was at his end, but never stepping in to help him. I never did know why I refused to go to his city, to his side to aid him. Was I afraid, angry, resentful? Perhaps all of them. The simple thought of him being in a cave, alone with Bane, being thrashed around like a rag doll. I still had nightmares of what I envisioned him going through in that dark place of hell. But he survived, just like he taught me to. Having Bruce step in as my father figure was a jump. I went from a dad that held my hand when I was nervous and tickled me until I cried with laughter, to Bruce's awkward pats on the back, unsure smiles, and uncomfortable silences. Bruce tried to do as much as possible, but he had no clue. Thank God for Alfred. He raised Bruce nearly on his own after he had been orphaned, so when I came home to Wayne Manor, he was well versed in the care of sad young boys. Alfred knew when I wanted to talk, or if I wanted to be left alone just by looking at me. He always knew what shirt I wanted to wear without me telling him. And the best part, if he knew I was down in the dumps, he would bring me a plate of steaming chocolate chip cookies and milk and ask me about silly things. My favorite had always been Moss Dick. I had always wondered, almost 2 elephants actually eaten a day. Whenever Bruce and I were at odds, I would make sure I was set for the night, and then go out and lecture my mentor, reminding him that I wasn't a soldier to a domineer, but a young boy who needed guidance. I never would hear Bruce's responses. I doubt he had a good one to argue. But where Bruce lacked the physical support, he made up with verbal. I could write a dictionary of Bruce's words of wisdom. It ranged from how to court women to how to throw the perfect roundhouse jab combination. But for every time he told me I needed to keep both eyes open to throw a ninja star correctly, or that if I touched my elbow when rolling out of a moving vehicle to prevent road rash, he never said what I was so used to hearing after working so hard. Way to go, Dick. Soon I'll be getting orders from you. He never said he was proud of me. I was lucky to get a good work out of him, let alone that he was set on with me. I had to hear those sort of things from Alfred. So he's making excuses for Bruce, saying how he wasn't skilled in the arts of affection, that Bruce was truly impressed with my skills and thought of me as a star pupil. But he never said it. I suppose it all came down to the fact that Bruce had no intentions of replacing my father, that he didn't want to get too emotional in case he thought he was becoming more a teacher to me. But that wasn't what I wanted. At first, I almost hated Bruce for taking me away from the circus. Then I learned his parents had died when he was a boy, so I thought maybe he wanted to show me how to cope. Just as he had taught me, I never told him how much he meant to me, even after all we had gone through, together and apart. Like father, like son. I sighed as I sat in my car, hands go to the steering wheel. A quick glance beyond the nose of the vehicle showed the wrought iron gates emblazoned with the style W's. 2 miles up the winding drive, past perfectly landscaped lawns and well-maintained water fountains, it sat like a grumpy old man. Wayne Manor. Although I had taken the drive a gazillion times, I was still intimidated by the mansion. It still held all of its glory in the 5-story walls of masonry. I counted only 3 of the massive windows to be lit. One was the den that overlooked the driveway, which was always lit, even in the dead of night. Another appeared to be the master kitchen, with no doubt a hot meal set on the counter. Last was the 3rd-floor bedroom. I only been in a handful of times in the last 16 years. Bruce's room. I had gotten a call earlier that afternoon after he had been injured. Alfred said he was stable and there was no immediate danger as long as Bruce obeyed the doctor's orders. Like that was even a possibility. Batman had surprised a serial killer, Victor Zsasz, during a hostage situation at some private party in a rich hotel. Although thought by many to have an insatiable lust for blood, The fact was, he was a very intelligent man. Aside from the fact that he thought humans were zombies and he had to kill them. Each life he'd taken, he had marked on his own skin to keep track. At 39 years of age, the madman's body was covered in dark hash marks from the neck down. Batman had been successful in bringing down Zsasz, but at the cost of a vicious knife fight. With a broken jaw, the killer dropped to the floor unconscious, while Batman exited through his fire escape, leaving hostages to be cared by the professionals. After such an ordeal, he opted to wait it out back of a crime scene to talk it over with Commissioner Gordon. Not that night. An 11-inch gash on his chest wouldn't have been terribly bad, but a deep stab wound in his back had nicked the renal artery. If he hadn't made it to Leslie at the free clinic when he had, she assured everyone he would have bled to death. And where had I been on the entire mess? On a date. While Bruce had been lying near death on Leslie's operating table, I had been sharing his bottle of sparkling cider with Barbara in her apartment in the clock tower. Afterwards, I returned to Bloodhaven to patrol, as she had gone to boot up the computers. Even though I rarely visited Gotham, it was almost always to see her and never Bruce. After hearing from Alfred that day, I couldn't help but feel guilty. I may have grown distant to Bruce, but he was still my father. There I sat in the car, next to the 20-something car garage, let down myself only to see that I had never changed out my officer's uniform. I winced as my fingers pressed the butt of my gun. Although he was slowly beginning to approve the fact that I had taken a regular life as a police officer, Bruce was still torn over my hate to wield a firearm. I couldn't blame him. Now after dreaming about his parents being shot down in front of him every night for 30-odd years. After exiting the car, I crossed over and headed over to the side entrance. The entire house was silent, and yet as I listened closely, I could hear drips in the pipes, creaks of the old wooden floors, and of course the hum of electrical wire. I had spent nearly 8 years of my life at Wayne Manor, and memorized his voice just as I would a close friend's. I checked the kitchen first, smelling the chicken pinata yards before I could push the door open. My aged ceramic plate held 2 servings of the dish, as well as 2 large pieces of garlic bread. After blessing Alfred once more for being a lifesaver, I grabbed a bottle of milk from the fridge and dug in. Having been on my own for years, I had grown to appreciate just how good I had it when I was a kid growing up in Alfred's kitchen. It was always quick with a snack or sandwich, no matter what the hour or occasion. Although I tried to pick up some of his culinary charm, I still wasn't far beyond making with spaghetti or macaroni and cheese. Time to get to work, Grayson. The stairs were a massive structure at the rear of the main hall. The second floor landing, it disappeared into a T. One step led into the east wing, and the other led to the west wing. I lived in the house for most of my life, but I'd never gone beyond the top of the east wing stairs. No one ever told me not to. I just never felt brave to go up there. There are 13 rooms in that wing. A master bedroom, 3 large bedrooms, as well as 4 guest rooms. Beyond that, 4 of those rooms had their own bathrooms as well. And of course, the last room was that of a playroom, full of late 70s styles toys. That wing had been where the Waynes lived. The only person I'd seen went up there was Alfred, and that was just to clean. Bruce's bedroom was the furthest on the west wing. As I made my way up the stairs to his room, and I did my tie, let loose a few buttons on my shirt. Might as well get comfortable. The double oak doors that led to Bruce's quarters were partially open. Light poured into the dark hall, revealing a discolored metal gurney. As I approached it, I noticed the dark blotches at the center of the sheets. After a deep breath, I knocked. Leslie's voice came in weakly. "Come on in, Dick." I averted my eyes from the bed. I looked at a dozing Alfred on the couch near the bay windows. He was dressed in a sweater and slacks and dark green shocks. A light blanket had been draped over his form. Then I looked at Leslie as she sat in an easy chair adjacent to the bed. She was still in the dark blue medical scrubs and slippers, her face pale and tired. "When was the last time you had a night off, Leslie?" "Never." Just like Bruce. "He's stable. We had to do another blood transfusion to get his pressure up, but everything is looking good. No serious damage to the artery itself. It only required 6 internal stitches. On the other hand, 46 stitches in his chest. Even if he wanted to hit the streets anytime soon, he wouldn't be able to bend or twist without ripping them open." Once he fell silent, I finally looked at him. His face was sweaty, but lost in the serenity of a drug-induced sleep. The covers sheltered his lowered abdomen, but left his upper torso revealed. With blue silk pajamas on top unbuttoned, I could see his chest was wrapped in the armpits down. Faint tints of red could be seen in a straight line across his torso. I sat on the edge of the bed and continued to look him over as Leslie said something about getting some coffee. 3 IV lines were connected to his left arm. The stand they were connected to sat behind a small oxygen tank, which had clear tubes of air that sneaked their way up onto the bed and ended in a cannula under his nose. A nasty bruise had formed in his right temple. I searched amongst the pre-mixed IV bags, syringes, gauze rolls that dominated his stand, and found a cool ice pack. Carefully, I applied it to his injured brow. Gently he winced. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were awake." Wallace's lips quirked into a brief smile, then faded into a grimace. A rare expression of pain. Leslie returned a moment later and smiled warmly at Bruce. "Well, how are we feeling?" "Fantastic." The word came slowly and labor. "Are you sure?" she asked as he took his wrist to check his pulse. When she was done, she let it drip limply. "Slow, but better." "Slow. Better than fast." "Sometimes, yes," she replied as she pulled the blanket down to his hips. The bandage continued all the way to his navel. As I stared, Leslie asked, "Dick, put him on his right side, would you? I want to check the drainage tube." I offered a weak smile at Bruce, then positioned him. He growled in pain, and I thought I detected a curse under his breath. As I watched Leslie score his body, there was Alfred standing behind her. When did he get up? After a curt nod from Leslie, I gently set Bruce back down as he grumbled to himself. There had been another thing from Bruce that had grained my then young and impressible mind. Resist assistance. It never did stick completely, but I was quite the wire about people flustering over me when I was hurt. After I watched as Leslie and Alfred stepped away and began their doctor talk. I was about to relocate to the chair when Bruce grabbed my arm. I winced, not because he was being forceful, because there was no strength left behind his grasp. "What, Bruce?" He shook his head. "No, stay." "I'm just going to sit on the chair." I moved slowly and looked to him. His eyes squinted as to focus on me. How much had Leslie given him? "Talk. With you." "Bruce, what do you need?" "Not what. Who." I paused. "All right, who?" His face grimaced into a sour pain. I felt the urge to grab his hand, but I suppressed it. Never express physical emotion when unnecessary. Isn't that what you taught me, Bruce? After a few deep breaths, he whispered, "Gordon." "Jim or Barbara?" "Jim. Me him. Talk." I nodded. "All right. I'll talk to him for you." He acted hurt by my words. "No." "He was telling me about something. He didn't want me to tell me about it. Usually, if he hadn't mentioned I am, it had been my sole purpose in life to attend to it." I blamed it on the delirium. He had a fever. He had 2 blood transfusions, and who knows how many angelics flowing through his veins. The sensible of a person acted out of character after that, even for Bruce. "Can't." He shook his head slowly as if he were restlessly asleep. "Not you." "You want Tim?" "Me." I sighed as I covered it off again. Anyone else as hurt as he was would be sleeping and dreaming about bunnies and rainbows. Not Bruce. No. He had learned how to fight the effects of sedatives. "Bruce, I think you're a little out of it to go rooftop hopping right now." His eyes were now closed. "Me. Him." "Him who, Bruce?" My words fell on deaf ears, for his head had lulled to one side and taken over. Yet another nightmare to add to my collection. Not wanting to fret on it, I removed the ice pack and waited for Leslie and Alfred to return from metal jargon lag, of which had been a 10-minute wait. Alfred walked over to my side, looked at my shirt, then tended to watching Bruce's face. I stood to keep out of his way. What's the matter, Alfred?" You said you'll sit to the cleaners, I say. My eyebrow arched. How does he know? Do you have a social collar and you left the bill hanging to the inside of your pocket? Alfred? Yes, sir? It was an emergency. Then I do hope that emergency was properly deflated. That sir is ruined. I almost said something to the fact that he was overreacting. Then I remembered he was Alfred. It was his job to overreact. Just like it was Bruce's job to torture himself. It angered me how he always tormented himself with his memories, constantly regret what he had done, and he couldn't possibly change things. But now, Alfred demanded to start my search. Bruce needed something to remind himself why he did what he did. Why would he take the brunt of an attack from a killer in order to save a few lives? Words of wisdom had followed me from one life to another, but it was my father's words that had stuck with me. No matter how much he had drilled me, yelled at me, or threatened me, it had all been for a purpose. He wanted me to succeed. For over a year earlier, during one of our rare friendly meetings, Bruce had asked me to help patrol the city for him, for old time's sake. On a windy rooftop, he said something that was closest I would ever get an expression of pride or love. You're better than me, Dick. To be anything of equality to Batman was enough to force you into uncontrollable glee. But to excel beyond him, that was unheard of. I'd never been a better martial artist, or detective, or anything else for that matter. But I was a better person than him. The only way I would become the person was through him. If Zuko hadn't darted the ropes, if my parents hadn't fallen to their deaths, or I never ran up the drive to Wayne Manor, I wouldn't be Officer Grayson or Nightwing. As Bruce pointed out, they were indeed different, but neither had dominated my life as it had for Bruce. With my breath caught in my throat, I left the room and headed downstairs. Another lesson from you, Bruce. When in doubt or mostly stressed, either beat the life out of a punching bag or the life out of some serious scum. I'm in no mood to sit in the cave all night. I opted for scum. I returned 2 hours before dawn, tired, sweaty, but happy. Alfred was naturally there to greet me with a glass of orange juice and a towel. After thanking me, I changed and sat at the computer console, preparing to log in my activities so Bruce would be able to read them once he recuperated enough to come downstairs. As I began to type, there had been a strong urge to check up on Bruce. I had been gone for nearly 7 hours. Perhaps he was feeling better, if not more lucid. Nevertheless, I carried on, doing my best to keep my entries from getting too long or boring. Just as I approached the end of logging tonight's activities, a rough voice came in from the stairs. It's not good for your eyes to work in the night. I jumped in volatility as lights flooded the cave. With a smirk growing on my face, I turned and faced him. Well, my old man always said, use 'em, then lose 'em. He slowly descended the stairs, one at a time. He still looked horrible, but I suppose it was better to get moving to get the blood pumping. He grimaced something that might have been a smile and continued, Busy night? Not entirely so. Missed a fun deal down at Ace's High. The underground casino. He mumbled as he sifted his way slowly. Not anymore. They moved on up to the big deluxe apartment in the sky. Looks like a donated lease at Plaza Tower. I was waiting for them to make the move. He paused to study the screen's contents. The determination in his eyes unnerving. Barely an incandescent to sit, let alone walk around, and I'm sure he was already formulating plans for his next night out. After listening to the bat shriek for a minute, I cleared my throat. Feeling any better? He walked past me and then sat in his chair, his fingers flying over the keys. He still wore his blue pajamas, but he had buttoned them to cover the bandages. His black cotton robe made me think of his keep. I began to head for the stairs, thinking he was ignoring me when he said, Thanks, Dick, for stopping in. Surprised, I paused and took a step towards him. Any time, but he was not that far away. I heard him sigh. How's the job going? He hadn't questioned my work in months. After taking a few steps in his direction, I replied, Not bad. Keeping busy, though. Apparently, that was the end of the conversation. Any time we spent alone together always got to that point. Either of us would try to be civil, to make conversation, but it would never carry on far. Recalling our delusional conversation from earlier, I said, Never met Gordon tonight. Wasn't in his office. He turned slowly. His face was in utter confusion. His eyes asked me to explain myself. The meaning. You said talk to Gordon, but then you said you wanted to do it. His gaze returned to his screen. Oh. Oh? Well, where is he? Thanks for coming, Dirk. Felt twinge of anger in my muscles. You're impossible. I muttered and headed for the stairs. As I reached the 13th one, barely heard his whistle. Dirk. I paused briefly and looked down at him. Hunched over the keyboard. His face waned in pain. I noticed one hand to be typing while the other was wrapped in his abdomen. Without a second thought, I marched down the stairs and moved towards behind the computer. Bruce knew what I was about to do and stood in rage. Dirk, don't you even dare! Oops! I muttered as I yanked a massive plug from the wall. The hum of the computer slowly ceased, as if it was dying slowly. When I faced him, his pain was still evident, but masked with frustration. Well, good night, Bruce. Hope you feel better. As I walked by him, I almost missed his foot coming out to trip me. I jumped in time and laughed as I jogged away. Ha ha! Nice try. His face still has 4 holes in my forehead. Go to bed. Jeez. If I wanted to be stared, I'd have Alfred glare at me about my damn shirt. He didn't move. I doubt he was even breathing. His eyes focused on mine. I thought it had been anger, but it had been pain. When I turned to leave, I saw it. Dark liquid pouring on his left foot as it ran down his pants leg. I stared at it long enough to see Bruce gaze so well. A hand slowly went back to his side and returned to him dark with blood. Bruce, I whispered. I went to help him, but he moved away and returned to his chair after he removed his robe. His shirt carried his entire lower back on his left side, clung to his body, shimmered with wetness. Unsure as to whether to help him or want to get Leslie or Alfred, I simply asked, You all right? Fine, he managed. If the sutures had torn, or he had thrown a blood clot, both of which would not be surprising. He could have been bleeding to death in front of my eyes. Think fast, boy wonder. Without hesitating, I raced over, picked him up out of the chair, and ran towards the elevator. He cursed at me and jabbed at a pressure point in my collarbone, causing the weight of my one arm to become unbearable. But you taught me better than that, Bruce. No matter how much it hurts, if others are in trouble, remember that you don't matter. Pain does not exist. It is a weakness, and weaknesses cannot save people. By the time I reached his room, he was unconscious and breathed eagerly. Alfred and Leslie were in the process of changing his seats, and I paused at the doorway. I was covered in blood, as was Bruce. They both stared at me in shock as I said, He sprung a leak. I've been right on the money with my guess. I sat on the kitchen counter, munching some horrible type of raisin and oat cereal, too healthy for me. Tim was at the counter, sitting at a stool, face cut by one hand. The other stirred the bowl of his wretched breakfast food with the other. Bruce had thrown a blood clot the size of a pinhead, which had torn right through the internal structures. Since Leslie had inserted a drainage tube to prevent infection, he was instantly turned into a human fountain. But a few more stitches and a week of bed rest would allow Bruce to live on his merry life. After slurping up the milk in my bowl, I jumped off the counter and kicked Tim's stool out from under him. He had been such a daze he nearly fell off from his backside. He glared at me, then up at his seat and rested himself on it. I had gone to Brentwood and kidnapped him from the bed at 4:30 in the morning, and he was none too happy about it, especially when I told him about Bruce. Leslie had left shortly before 8, claiming Bruce was fine, resting comfortably on a morphine drip. She had forced Alfred to go to bed, so we are not to disturb him unless it was an emergency. I hugged her and said I would drop by and update her on how he was. As Tim and I made our way to the den, I yawned. What a night! I am beat! Tim remained silent and collapsed onto the leather sofa. He was usually sensitive to whenever anyone was hurt, but with Bruce, I knew he went overboard. He had never seen so much more than I had at his age. Even though he was still part of the family left, he was alone. But that was where I came in, to be the big brother he always needed. He remained silent as he turned on the television on. After settling on the tail end of the Today Show, he sighed. He almost died. I leaned back. Yeah, he has a habit of doing that, doesn't he? No, Dick. Like, he almost really died. What if you left him in that cave? He would have died all alone. It hit me like ice wire. I hadn't even had time to ponder the what ifs of last night. I suppose he could have phoned Leslie or Alfred for help, but would they come in time? Well, I was there. He's alive and miserable as ever. The end. Dick turned and faced me. You saved him. I looked down at my hands, thinking of another habit I picked up from Bruce. Avoid eye contact whenever possible. Thanks, Bruce. Tim, I can't tell you how many times he saved me. He nodded, most likely revisiting all the times Bruce had swung in at the last minute to the rescue. Nothing like a little suspense to keep a partnership on edge. After an hour of my eyes being glued to the screen, I stood and stretched my arms back. I'm going to check up on... Tim was dead to the world. Mouth gaped with small snores escaping. I pushed him down on the couch and covered him up. As much as I wanted to get some sleep, I know my brain wouldn't settle down enough for me to get meaningful rest. I took the stairs in languidly, and it took me 10 minutes to get to Bruce's room. The gurney was gone and doors were closed. A sliver of light escaped under the door. I considered knocking, but decided against it in case I woke him. Tough luck. Bruce sat on the couch that Alfred had been sleeping on, not 10 or 12 hours later. The bed was in a disarray of twisted blankets and crisp pillows. The canoe laid on top of rumpled pillows. But I smiled to see he had dragged the IV stand with him. The illumination originated from the windows themselves, where Bruce stared at the distant ocean waters as they sparkled in the mid-morning light. Since his head was tilted to the left, I thought he was asleep and slowly crept over to see him. I wasn't 2 yards from him when he said softly, "What a night." My thoughts exactly. After pausing at the side of the couch, I saw him in fresh pajamas, but no robe and slippers. One sleeve was rolled up to the elbow, and the IV inserts had been secured with medical tape. A small quilt covered his abdomen and most of his legs, but his bare feet stuck out the bottom. Without much thought, I sat beside him and watched the water. We were silent for nearly an hour. Our eyes changed faces as the water slapped up against the shore in massive waves. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him smile slightly. Scroll! There's no way Bruce would be smiling! Then felt a hand rest on the back of my neck. It was the best conversation we ever had. The end. I read these stories and there are days when I ask myself, why does it seem like sometimes the fans get these heroes more than the comic book writers themselves? It boggles the mind. A nice short one-shot chapter reflecting well on the relationship between Bruce and Batman. Between Dick and Batman. One down, that's more to go. See you next time.